Authors use figurative language to make their writing more interesting, to show comparisons between things, and to show the reader, help the reader visualize stuff more. So there are 7 different types. We're going to talk about those today. Okay, the first example is simile. It's a comparison of 2 unlike things using the words like or as. When you write this in your foldable, please make sure you underline the word unlike. That's very important to know that they're 2 unlike things being compared. Otherwise, it's not a simile. And you also have to have the words like or as. Here are 3 examples of similes. The first one is the frog's eyes sparkled like diamonds, and I have frog's eyes and diamonds underlined because they're 2 unlike things. You don't normally talk about them together. These are being compared using the word like. That's what makes it a simile. The second example is the girl was as tall as a giraffe, and I have girl and giraffe underlined because those are the 2 unlike things. You don't usually talk about girls and giraffes together. This is a simile because it's using the word as in 2 places. The last example is he swims like a fish. Which is a boy, and fish are being compared, and that is using like. So that's what makes them a simile. Please pause and choose one of these to write as an example in your foldable. The next type of figurative language is metaphor, and it is also a comparison of 2 unlike things, but you don't use like or as. You actually say that the one thing is the other thing. Here are 3 examples of metaphors. The first one is her eyes were fireflies. The things being compared are eyes and fireflies. You're actually saying her eyes were fireflies, but they're not. It's just saying that her eyes were like glowing like fireflies. The next one is the computer in the classroom was an old dinosaur. I'm actually calling the computer an old dinosaur, but it's not. It's just saying that it's very old. And the last one is this assignment was a breeze. You're comparing assignment and breeze, but it's not really a breeze like a wind. It's just saying that it was very easy to do. Choose one of these examples and put them in your ISN. Here's the next example for you to write in your ISN. The definition for hyperbole is an exaggeration that cannot possibly be true. This, I think, is everyone's favorite every year. You'll see why in a minute. Go ahead and write this in your ISN. So here's the 3 examples. I'm so hungry I could eat a horse. You wouldn't actually eat a horse, but it's an exaggeration to show how hungry you are. The next one is a your mama joke. Your mama jokes are hyperbole because they are exaggerations. Your mama's so fat when she walks by the TV, you miss 3 seasons of the show. This is an exaggeration to say how fat the mom is. The last example is I've told you a million times. You've probably heard your mom say this a lot. This is an example of hyperbole because she hasn't actually said it a million times, but she's trying to prove a point, saying that she's told you way too many times. Go ahead and pick one of these examples and write it in your ISN. I remember hyperbole because it has the word hyper in it. And when you're hyper, you're exaggerating how excited you are. So that helps me remember what hyperbole means, that it's an exaggeration, just like being hyper is an exaggeration. The next type of figurative language is personification, and it's when you give human qualities to non-human things. Write this definition in your ISN. The examples that I'm giving you for personification are the stars danced in the moonlit sky. Stars don't really dance. This is just describing that it looks like they're sparkling, and so you might describe them as dancing. My computer throws a fit every time I try to use it. The computer isn't actually throwing a fit, but this is a fun way to say that it gives you a hard time and it's probably close to breaking or old. I could hear Hawaii calling my name. Hawaii can't actually call someone's name, but this is saying that the person really wanted to go to Hawaii. Choose one of these to put in your ISN as an example for personification. A way to remember personification is that it has the word person in it. And so that helps you remember that it is non-human things doing things that people would do. The next type of figurative language is idiom. And it's a group of words whose meaning is not literal. Literal means it's something that actually happens. I always like to say only an idiot would think an idiom is a real thing. An idiom and idiot kind of have the same spelling. Write this definition in your ISN for idiom. Here's some examples of idioms. It's a piece of cake. It's not really a piece of cake. This is a saying we say to say that it's really easy. Break a leg is often said to people who are about to perform, and it's a saying that you want them to have a good performance and you're wishing them luck. Don't get cold feet. You're not actually telling the person that you don't want their feet to get cold, but you're telling them that you don't want them to be nervous about something or back out of it. Pick one of these examples to write for idiom in your ISN. So like I said in the last slide, idiom kind of sounds like idiot. Okay. And that's how I remember it, because only an idiot would think that these things are really going to happen when you say them. The next type is alliteration, and the definition for alliteration is the repetition of the same initial consonant sound in a series of words. So it's like opposite of rhyming. It's instead of the end of the word sounding the same, the beginning of all the words sound the same. Write this definition in your ISN. Here's some examples of alliteration. Peter Piper picked a peck of pickled peppers. You can see that the P sound is repeated. The great gray gorilla guzzled gallons of grape soda. You can see that the G was repeated. And in the last one, the big bad bear attacked all the bunnies in the bunch. The B is repeated. So a lot of tongue twisters are examples of alliteration. But anytime like 2 or 3 words in a row are repeated, that can be examples of alliteration. Pick your favorite here to write in the ISN as an example. Okay, so you can, how I remember this one is that it starts with an A, which is the first letter of the alphabet. So that helps me remember that it's the type of figurative language where the first letter sound is repeated, like P or G or B or whatever it might be. The next one is onomatopoeia, and onomatopoeia is words whose sounds suggest their meaning. I remember this one because onomatopoeia is just a funny word, so that helps me remember that they are the words that sound like their meaning, since onomatopoeia sounds so funny. We could probably go on and on with examples of onomatopoeia. I just have 3 here: bloop, buzz, and clang. You see a lot of onomatopoeia in comic books, like crash and pop and bang. So that's where you see a lot of onomatopoeia used. Pick one of these examples to put in your ISN. Okay, so don't forget that onomatopoeia, how I remember it is it's a funny word. And so that helps me remember that it is the one where the words make sounds. So now I want you to show what you've learned on the piece of paper that I gave you. You can rewind this video or use your notes, but you are going to write your own example of each of these types of figurative language. Come see me if you need any clarification, and when you're done with your paper, you're just going to turn it in to me and put your ISN away.